Morning and welcome to this Meet the Contractors Delivering Birmingham 2022 event, organised by the West Midlands Growth Hubs. My name is Adam Dent of Advent Communications, and we work for the Coventry and Warwickshire Local Enterprise Partnership Growth Hub and on occasion for the West Midlands cluster of Growth Hubs. With the Commonwealth Games opening date of 2022 July fast approaching, this will be one of the final opportunities for SMEs in the region to become a supplier, and we've arranged speakers who can outline the opportunities that are still available. And of course, the West Midlands Growth Hubs, and that's Coventry and Warwickshire, Greater Birmingham, Solihull, the Black Country, Worcestershire, Stoke-on-Trent and Staffs, and the Marches are all here to help. They act really as a front door to local and national support programmes, grants, access to finance, innovation, training and skills, planning, employment and recruitment, and connecting with their local supply chains, including with the important regional construction projects such as HS2 and Birmingham 2022, and of course, EU transition. Growth Hub advice and support is impartial and fully funded, offered at no cost to businesses such as yourselves, and is delivered under the auspices of our LEPs, which, as you know, are private sector chaired organisations. For more details, please access wmgrowthhubs.co.uk. And for opportunities, please look in the range of Find It In portals across our area. So now I'm going to hand you over to David Grady, who's the CFO of Birmingham 2022, who will also introduce our speakers. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat box. Let us know who they're directed to, and we'll include them at the Q&A at the end. David, over to you.
In terms of scale, 2.5 billion people on the planet live in Commonwealth countries, and 1.5 billion of those are expected to watch the games or some part of the games on television. And Ewan, who speaks to you later, will be looking after one of the biggest television moments, which will be the opening ceremony. And that's the kind of reach that these events bring to our city and region. More locally, there are 1.7 million tickets for the games. And in a sense, that's the number that drives an awful lot of what we're going to be talking about today. So if you think about what the organising committee is here to do, it's here to prepare the city and region and venues to host that many people in a very short space of time, and then put things back together as if that had never happened in a very short space of time. And you can imagine that just the scale and the breadth of the services and products that are required to make that kind of thing happen. You know, there are more tickets for sale than there are residents of Birmingham for these games. That's the scale of the operation. So without further ado, having hopefully given the guys a little bit of context for why this is such a grand scale operation, I'm going to introduce you to David Tunnicliffe from GL Events, who are looking after 2 out of 3 of our lots on overlay. And we're going to let David explain what overlay is.
You obviously heard me do that before. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen. Good morning. My name is David Tunnicliffe, and thank you, David, for that amazing introduction. My little bit's going to last about 5 minutes. I'll try not to speak too quickly, and I'll try and keep it as direct as I can. Oh, that's a bit interesting. Typically, the one person who morning that presentation was working is now not working. One moment. There we go. So GL Events, yeah, I assume you can all see that. We're a global business. We're about 45 years old. We're based in France mainly, but we have a massive UK contingent, which I'll come on to in a second. We turn over about 1.2 billion pre-COVID. Clearly, COVID hit the events industry massively, so that's not quite as it was. Headcount still around the 4,000 mark. More locally, we have 5 business units in the UK. I'll come on to where the venues are later. We employ about 250 people in the UK, and we have about 2 million people come to our activities that we put together in the UK. So where are we in the UK? Well, I'm sitting currently in Coventry. It's where I live. I'm a local boy for the games. We have an office in Alpha Tower in Birmingham, which is where the office specifically for the games is being run from. We have a satellite depot by the NEC, which is fundamentally where we're going to be keeping all the main equipment, a venue called Heart of England, and our head office is at the end of the M42, which is where we run most of the other activities that we do in the UK from. As you'd expect from a company of our size, one of the big players in the event industry, we have a full complement of all the ISO standards that are important to our industry, and we contribute towards a lot of the governing bodies of the industry, and I go out and I talk at these governing bodies, and we support these governing bodies financially as well. So specifically for the games, it's quite a big team. So I'll come on to what overlay is in a second, but to deliver a project of this size, which I can tell you is, it's nearly sort of £30 million just for what I'm doing. We need a big team, and this is a dedicated team we have. So Tom is a project director, and he is based in Birmingham. He's been with DL for about 10 years. You'll see me in the top there. I'm not supposed to be taking much part in the actual day-to-day activity of the games. I very much look at the bigger picture for the whole of the UK business. So Tom very much is the focus, and Tom's details are on the end of this little presentation anyway. I won't go into what everyone does, but as you can see, the team is growing all the time. Some very skilled people. Most of these people, if not probably 70%, are from the Birmingham area. The guys on the left, perhaps not so much, because they're based in our Castellanton area. But certainly, like James, is from Coventry. Helen's in Birmingham at the moment. Ian Brooks is another Brummie. So it's a very much Martin. It's a very much a UK sort of Birmingham-based delivery model. So what is overlay? Overlay is the nuts and bolts of an event. So if you've been to Cheltenham or Ascot or Wimbledon and sat in a tent or sat on a chair between ourselves and Arena, who you're going to hear from later, you've probably been sitting on one of our chairs, standing on one of our bits of carpet, been heated by some of our air conditioning in one of the tents we own, sitting on a seat watching Silverstone Grand Prix. That is pretty much what overlay is. It's everything from plumbing to carpentry to saunas for the overlay. And what we do is we provide, as a business, the infrastructure that the games need to deliver safely, which takes into consideration audience comfort, audience viewing. It also takes into consideration the athletes and all the things that go around the athletes, which, as you can imagine, with so many athletes, is a big task. Not only are we the official overlay provider for the games, we're also the principal designer and principal contractor for the games. It's the first time really that a major games has been delivered where the overlay provider is the principal contractor and principal designer, and I think it's a really nice new model that they've got for this, and it's working quite well at the moment, so I'm not going to say too much about that. I don't want to rock the boat. Important considerations. It's not just about coming to, when you're looking to get involved as a supplier of the games, the product and the price of the product is only part of what the games is about. Sustainability of your business and the product you're providing and the service you're giving. Social values are huge. We've got all the volunteers from work next week going down to Coventry Canal to clear a section of that. We've employed some people that necessarily wouldn't have the opportunity to work on the games. I've currently got someone from Birmingham University working for us on placement for a year. So what we do social value wise, and I think my friend at Arena will expand this better because it's more in her field later, is really important to the games. In fact, we're audited on it. So as a business, we're audited on our social value deliverables, and it's quite a big deal. And we can work with our subcontractors to help them. We've got some really nice things that we can help you with. And on the end of this presentation, again, you'll see there is a link to our social values webpage, which will give you loads and loads of information. Legacy is important. If there's something that the games is paying for that it arguably should remain in place, or even that includes employees and physical things as well. And of course, business continuity is important. So that's pretty quick, wasn't it? That was 5 minutes I tried to get that into. Useful details. As I said, Birmingham 2022 is our website for our social values. The GL website itself is the next link down, you can see there.
all the materials and products and specifications. Materials is a big point as well for us, because we're always looking for sustainable type materials, things that we can either repurpose or recycle after the event rather than it going away to landfill. It's a massive thing now on all these big games. All the organising committees are driving this and driving it to us to try and make things better so there is less waste. As I said, we're involved in the city dressing for Birmingham Council and stuff down at Coventry and Warwick as well. We produce an online lookbook, which is some basic elements like feather flags and hand flags and pull-up banners and stuff that we make available through an online portal that people can go on and order stuff. We look after all the last mile signage again, sort of thing, from all the transport hubs. Wayfinding again throughout the stadiums and throughout the city. We work with spectator experience as well on special products, and within our own team we have got our own experiential crews as well that can be used on certain products. As I said before, sustainability, very big. The program management is very important, that we tie in with the people like GL and that sort of thing, so that we have very fine limits on when we can actually install stuff. So we have to really watch the program carefully, that one, the organising committee are happy with it, and two, that we can get everything done in the necessary time. To do this, we've got a big logistics crew who handle all the install crews and all the access to sites. We have a dedicated health and safety manager who will work on the games for us. And then we have an installation manager who will look after all the crews and any maintenance and any transition type items. And again, before, the recycle and reuse is a massive thing that we're looking at the moment. We can do some really fancy stuff. This is the Glasgow Big G that we've done in 2014. So we get involved in some special big structural items, some like hero pieces, good photo opportunities. Again, we work on mascot trails and stuff. This is with the city, but it's another thing, so that we're doing other things that engage the local community and help out. And again, other spectators has done. This is one we done for the Rugby World Cup, and that it just gives you an idea of what the sort of things that we can do. Again, more photo opportunities. I think you'll see these dotted around all over the place, sort of thing. This type of thing. Right, so what are we looking for in terms of local people? Again, it's a big part of a big part in the tender, and a big drive from us to use as much locally as we can. Of two things: one, to help the local community, and two, it does really help us operationally like that we've got people local or services local that we can use, rather than have to bring them in from all over the country. As a branding company, we're looking for a lot of wide format printers or printing companies. We've already started going out and seeing local suppliers who can provide this for us, and we're continuing to do that. Crewing service, again, we're looking for local crews who can do the installation stuff, again, rather than in the past we've kind of brought in teams of like 20 people and put them up in hotels or something like that and use them. This time around, we'd much rather use local people who live locally and bring them into it. Again, with a specialist installation, there's a lot of high-level work and stuff that we need specialist crews for. And again, the more local they are, the more easier it is to work with. You know, the more easier it is to get to sites and just to coordinate. We're still looking for a warehousing facility. We produce a lot of signage and branding before it goes into install, and we need somewhere local that we can warehouse all this stuff. It's a particularly difficult one for us at the moment, because we would only look for a short lease, so it's something that we're trying to work around. And then things like some of the specials we saw there, again, local fabricators you can work with metal and woodwork, rather than just the direct print that some of the other companies will do for us. There are some specialist items. We do need some fancy items made up. And again, if we can find local people to do that work for us, it saves on logistics and all sorts of things. And obviously transportation, just being a crew up, our crew coming to live up in Birmingham for the time of the games. We're using local hotels, we're looking with local apartments, we'll be using local courier companies, we're looking all things, Ubers, all sorts of stuff locally, rather than bring it in from afar. So that's basically us. That's what we're kind of doing. So we are on a big drive now for local people to try and get more into the team. So we've already got a few people that we've brought on board that live locally, and again we're looking for more rather than bring people in from afar. And there we go. That's CSM.
John, thank you very much. Really comprehensive, and crucial part for the look and feel of the games. Anyone who's coming will remember what John and the team at CSM have done for the games, because that will be the spectator, the memory, because that's what you see when you're in the games. Great stuff, John. Thank you very much. I'm sure everyone got the message. Lots of opportunities with CSM. So now we're going to move on to ADI. John McInnes from ADI is going to talk to you about their requirements in this the live sites space.
Morning, David. Thanks very much for the introduction. I'll just share my screen now. So hopefully everyone can see this. So ADI, as part of a special purpose vehicle with 2 Birmingham-based companies, were awarded the live site opportunities. So the festival live sites will be, for a lot of people, their opportunity to engage with the games. They won't be, if the people who can't afford tickets or can't make it to Stadia or any of the other locations for the games, this will be what they'll see. These will be it's roughly broken down into 3 major elements. So there will be a large site in Smithfield, which will also have some live sport going on there with the beach volleyball and the basketball. We'll have Victoria Square, and then we'll also have a tour of 7 community and neighbourhood spaces, and we'll be involved in the delivery from an ADI side with the technical elements, but as I said, working with a couple of partners who we set up a special purpose vehicle with on delivering cultural content and production. So who are ODP? So the supplier is a SPV called Outdoor Digital Productions. It's made up of JA Productions, which is a Birmingham-based production company. John and his guys are all local, been operating within events around Birmingham for the last 20 or 30 years, I think. Opus, Caroline and her team they're all exclusively based in Birmingham. They've been working with BCC and a number of other local stakeholders and local authorities on producing engaging content, and more big focus on giving people with disabilities, special needs, opportunities to perform and bring that cultural content into city centre spaces. And from our own side, ADI, so we are Europe's largest provider of digital screens and LED. We're bringing to the live site hopefully a real technological feel, something a little bit cutting edge. Within our business, we've got multiple divisions. We've got strong roots in Birmingham, to be fair, with producing a lot of the in-stadia content that we do for a number of Premier League and Championship clubs around the area. And for myself, I will be almost devoted solely to this contract as the senior project lead working down here. And it's key for us that we've got that Birmingham angle. Despite being based in Preston, the majority of our team who will actually be involved in the operational delivery are either freelancers or in-house resources that are exclusively from Birmingham. So the live sites, so the executive summary, as I've already alluded to, was the Smithfield live site, which is probably going to be the largest of the 3. The Victoria Square, which I would envisage will probably be most people's their impression of the games, what they will see while they're going about their daily business. And the key one, I think, is the satellite or the neighbourhood live sites, where we're actually going to be touring these community green spaces and getting out there and meeting the communities of Birmingham and really engaging with them and showing them the spirit and the look and the feel of the games. So we've got some pictures here from previous events and some of the community engagements that either ourselves or our partners have been involved in, and what we hope to be bringing to these community spaces as part of our neighbourhood tour.
There's some very interesting surprises planned, particularly for the Smithfield site, some large engagements and activations, and there's going to be some very interesting things planned as part of it, which people get the opportunity to see during games time. Obviously, for us, it's much more than about just the sport. It's the engagement with communities and bringing these artists and performers and giving them an opportunity to be on such a grand stage. So if you see here, we've got a visualization of the stage that will be straddling the fountains and steps in Victoria Square when all the work's completed. There'll be a big screen there as well. And again, we've got a few surprises planned for that. So there'll be some engaging content and opportunity for people to enjoy the lunch on the steps, watch some of the games action, and these live sites will be open right the way throughout the games. And as I said, I think for a lot of people at Birmingham, this might be their opportunity to feel part of the games and really bring the feeling bring the feeling home to them and let them feel like they're part of it. We've got a visualization of our very, very large LED screen that's going to go into Smithfield and sit alongside that live site. Again, few surprises planned. Should be very, very interesting and one we're really looking forward to internally. So one of the key drivers for us is delivering local value. So the neighbourhood producers and community connectors. So 7 cosmopolitan community spaces that welcome their neighbours, produced by, for and with local people to share the games together. Supported by recruitment of 7 community producers, supported by Empower, producer development and delivery programme. And key for us is we've got this first ever relaxed live site at Touch Base Pairs, which will be a fully inclusive experience for those with complex disabilities. So maybe some of these other live sites aren't suitable or don't align with people with complex disabilities. There's the inclusivity and the opportunities for people to come to this site and still be a part of the games, which I think is a key driver for us and our other partners in the SPV. So talk to us. Key, obviously we've secured elements such as obviously the technology which we own house. There's a lot of people coming on board in terms of neighbourhood producers, but I know from ourselves and our partners, we're looking for people on the ground. We're looking for people from a digital side, so directors, graphic ops, audio, sound, lighting. We've got some of them already penciled in, but which are pretty much all Birmingham based, but we're also engaging with the University of Birmingham to offer apprenticeship opportunities to local students. There's opportunities set for cultural content and performers to reach out to us, and for any guys in production who can offer any services or supplies, please contact. You can get through on inquiries at Opus Arts Events, and that will go through to Caroline and her team, and she'll divert it to the relevant individual within our group. And that's live sites and ADI. Thank you.
John, thanks ever so much. Just thinking, with given sort of the regional nature of the sort of participant base here, is it worth just sort of 30 seconds on the regional live sites that are going to be delivered with the regional local authorities?
Yeah, so as well as the live sites within Birmingham, so there will be the other live sites across the region. So there will be host authorities such as Solihull, Cannock Chase, and there's a lot of work still being done on that side of things, on exactly what the activations will be. There's a bit more politically to be done in terms of nailing that exactly what it's going to look like. For us, the big one at the moment is the neighbourhood sites going around the community green spaces.
But the ask in respect to those sites is exactly the same as the ask you've outlined in the sites in Birmingham, in as much as, you know, it's just scale.
It's all about engaging
on a regional scale.
Yeah, it's bringing people into the games and making sure it's not just within the arenas, the people within the city centre feel part of the games as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We will move on, and last and by no means least, I'm going to introduce you to Ewan Folds, who looks after Birmingham Ceremonies. As the name suggests, this is the special purpose vehicle that is going to be delivering the opening and closing ceremonies of the games. Ewan, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David, and hopefully you can see my slides on the screen. Please shout, David, if you can't. It's a pleasure to be able to speak and be invited to speak at this event this morning and give you a bit more information about Birmingham Ceremonies, who we are, what we're doing in relation to the games, and really importantly, obviously, for everyone on this call, what opportunities there are likely to be to get involved as a supplier. So briefly, who are we? We're, unlike many of the speakers this morning, we're a really new organisation. I think we're actually less than a year old, in fact. But it's a special purpose vehicle, Birmingham Ceremonies Limited, that has been created as a marriage between Gary Beeston Associates, who are a live events and theatre company who have done a whole range of things, from Harry Potter theatre in London, and a whole just massive range of events over the years. And then Dun & Dusty, who are one of the world's largest sort of broadcast companies. And that kind of marriage between both companies is in a way perfect, because what we really want to achieve is something that looks absolutely fantastic to all the spectators in the stadium, maybe I think it's around 30,000 in the stadium, but really importantly as well, the people who are, far more people who are not in the stadium and watching it on their TV sets at home. In Glasgow, I think the figures for the opening ceremony alone, the viewing figures were in the region of 9 or 10 million. And then on top of that, you've obviously got a huge number more spectators across the Commonwealth and outside of the Commonwealth, in fact, where the event will be broadcast. So it's a really good, so hopefully what we'll achieve is something that looks great in the stadium and equally good on television, and that can be sometimes quite difficult to achieve. As David says, it doesn't take a genius to work out what we are doing. It's producing the opening and closing ceremonies of the games. And these are, most of you will have watched, London or Glasgow or any of these opening and closing ceremonies. In fact, the Beijing Winter Olympic ceremony is tomorrow, I believe. So we'll be tuning in, and a lot of people will be tuning in to that. But yeah, it's a large-scale stadium shows. And in our view, it's not about the sport, these games. It's nothing about the sport at all. It's obviously just about the opening and closing ceremonies, the bookend the games. Of course, I'm joking, but they really are the sort of the kickstart the games, get everyone really excited. And there will be in Alexander Stadium on the 28th of July. I can't obviously tell you a huge amount about the actual, what the show will involve, because we want to save the surprise for everyone watching on the night. But there will be literally thousands of cast, both professional and volunteer cast, enormous props and scenic items that really celebrate Birmingham, Birmingham's past, present, and future. And we've got a really good, an amazing creative team behind the ceremonies, who are very heavily Birmingham and West Midlands based. And the real aim here is to ensure we've got ceremonies which really shows Birmingham off in its best light. So yeah, it's all looking really good. So the opening ceremony on the 28th of July and the closing on the 8th of August. But for us, there's, and this sort of links back to procurement opportunities. We've obviously got the Alexander Stadium and the stuff that we're putting on then, but our timelines start quite a bit before that. We're starting auditions in the next few weeks, actually, at a site in Birmingham, and then much larger scale to that is the rehearsals. So we've just secured a site that we're going to be using for that, and there's a whole range of infrastructure that we need for these rehearsals, because what we're effectively doing is replicating a lot of the nuts and bolts of the stadium in an open site, which is absolutely not fit for purpose, if you like. So we do need to bring in, whether it's temporary toilets, water, heating, lighting, marquees. Now, a few of those things that I've just mentioned, that the marquees and the porter cabins we've already are in the process of letting at the moment, but a significant procurement, and I don't know if this appeals to anyone on the call at the moment, that we're about to go live with probably in the next 24, 48 hours, is that we need to tarmac a huge area of the site, in the region of probably about 20,000 square meters of tarmac that needs to go down to flatten level off the site. So as I say, that's one that's going to be going live in relation to rehearsals very soon. Currently live, I think we also have water and drainage systems. If anyone's in that industry, we've got that live at the moment, and details can be found on Contracts Finder, and I'll talk a bit more about that in just a second. Our departments, we've got a range of different departments. You'll see there: technical, ops, operations, costume, props, and creative. And I wanted to list those just to give you an idea of the sort of breadth of what we're doing. I think it's very easy to think, oh well, you guys just put on the fancy stuff, the musicians or whatever that are going to be playing at the ceremonies. But there's a whole range, much more. You know, most of the budget for the ceremonies actually sits within technical, which is, you know, all of your staging and lighting and audio and all the rest of it. So there's a whole range of stuff in there. The not so glamorous stuff that you might not think about. Operations, you know, catering, cleaning and heating and toilets and all this stuff that I've mentioned. So there's a whole range of things there. Costume is one where is an area in particular where we will be coming to the market and really want to engage with local suppliers. That applies to costume and props, in fact, where, you know, we acknowledge the fact that we should definitely be able to find good suppliers in the local area, Birmingham and the West Midlands, who are able to work with us to fit out and provide costumes for our cast. As I say, there are literally going to be thousands of people, so you can see there will be a number of requirements that we'll have there. Equally with props, you know, these are the smaller type scenic items that the cast will, you know, carry around or whatever in the show. And once again, we're sort of going out to market on a number of those fairly soon. We're a private company. We're not, you know, obviously none of the suppliers today are part of the organising committee, but the money that we get from the organising committee to put on the services that we're providing comes from public money. So, you know, we're quite rightly tasked by the organising committee in ensuring that we spend that money in a responsible fashion to achieve best value in the timescales that we are working to. And I think, you know, obviously it doesn't, between now and the shows, the time is becoming more and more constrained. So what we are having to do is we're still absolutely dedicated to ensuring that we run very sort of transparent procurement processes to achieve best value in a way which is fair for everyone who's involved. But the timelines are becoming far more condensed. So what you might find is that some of the opportunities we're putting on, you know, whilst 4 months ago we were able to have them out in the market for 6 weeks, that's now, you know, we're out for a week, and we need to turn it around within a week and get stuff contracted very, very quickly. So we're kind of moving towards that stage. And as the other suppliers have said, you know, there's a real emphasis on social values for us, and of all of our evaluations, it forms a key part of that evaluation and is scored accordingly. And you know, sort of key to that is the fact that, you know, getting local supplies is one very obvious way in which you can, you know, avoid you know, transporting stuff and all the impact and that has on the environment from the other side of the world. So we really want it to be done as locally as possible. And I've just listed there some examples, and I won't read them all out one by one, of some of the commodities and goods and services that we are likely to be coming out to the market for in the next month or so. Some a bit earlier, like for example, the drainage one that I mentioned is listed there. That's out at the moment, and I think there's only a few days left to run on that. The tarmacking, as I mentioned, will be coming out very soon. If anyone's interested in the tarmacking, I would ask you to drop me an email, because what we're probably going to do there is to make that opportunity available to a closed group for the specific purpose that we want to do. People want to do a site visit, and in order to make that manageable, we'll obviously have a group of suppliers that we want to take on those site visits. We can't just be organising visits all of the time for thousands of suppliers. But as you'll see, there's a range of things there that we are likely to be requiring over the coming weeks and month or so. Okay, I think I touched on this earlier. Not everything you've got will be available for open tender. So, you know, by open tender, obviously, and I'm sure everyone's aware of what this means, but we post an opportunity and every single person can apply. The confidentiality is a key thing for us. We really want to make sure that the show remains, insofar as possible, confidential until the night and sort of save that surprise. So we don't, a lot of the creative stuff, we either have direct awards, but that's very, very limited. What's more common is we get a group of suppliers to sign an NDA with us, which means that we can then freely share information with them related to the ceremonies or related to that specific procurement. And we can then work with that group to try and reach a preferred supplier. We have 3 quotes for lower value procurements, and that in our world tends to be procurements below 25,000, and then single source for the very low value, and that for us is 10,000 and below. So where can you find out about what we're doing, what opportunities we've got? I mentioned Contracts Finder earlier, and that's a government portal. Many of you will no doubt be familiar with that. You can register your interest depending on what your business area is, and it will sort of trigger a notification when something gets loaded on. So we use Contracts Finder for most of our open tenders, or all of our open tenders, in fact, at the moment go on Contracts Finder. They also go onto the Find It in Birmingham website and onto our own website. But as I mentioned above, some stuff we just go we go for 3 quotes, or we go for a direct award. So in those cases, we don't put them live on Contracts Finder, and therefore the only way we can really know who's out there, who wants to be involved, is to let us know. I put my email address there for our procurement team, and I'd be absolutely delighted to hear from anyone who something I've said today sort of triggers an interest, or there's goods or services that you think might be relevant to us. Let us know. We can then put you in our books. I can then pass that detail to the head of department, and when they're coming out with a requirement, then they can obviously bear you in mind in relation to that requirement. And I think it was David who mentioned at the beginning here about sort of good news stories from these supplier events. And just this morning, actually, we're sort of now quite actively engaged in a supplier who got in touch following one of these events, and there's a likely chance that they will be involved in working with us going forward. So these are really good opportunities to get involved if that's something you're interested in. But hopefully, I think that's me. Yeah, hopefully you found that interesting. Obviously, David will be fielding questions now, and we'd be delighted to answer anything. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you. I think we're back with Adam now to coordinate Q&A.
We are, thank you. And we have had some people asking questions. It's going to test everybody's knowledge from this call. Certainly, if you, like me, you've learned a lot from this call. So I've learned clearly that I'd like to be David Tunnicliffe, because it appears that he's going to be sitting in a sauna he's installed, listening to a violinist while he watches a Commonwealth game. So he's obviously got it more sus than anybody else. Right, as Jolie said, sometimes you don't know what you want until somebody tells you. And we've had a gentleman, Russ Taylor from Valorium, who says, which of the attending presenting people have responsibility for the removal and recycling of waste tyres and inner tubes from all the cycling events? They've got drop-off points within 2 miles of all the major cycling events that are happening during 2022. So, David, I don't know if you know who that should go to.
Well, I think, to be fair to my co-presenters today, I don't think that is in any of their portfolios. So I think if we take the details offline, if you can pass on contact details, I'll make sure that we pick up and respond to that one.
Yeah, it's the things you don't know. They have over 500 collection points across the UK. So, Russ, thank you very much for
Russ, thank you. We'll be in touch.
Mark Smith, who's come to us from Central Profiles, we're based locally in Kidderminster. They do laser cutting, steel folding and fabrication. He sent us our details. Who would be the person to address? Would that be John?
I think there's plenty of people on the call who might be interested in that conversation. So, John, probably you first.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something like that. I mean, there is quite a lot of kind of bespoke fabrication that we're looking at in terms of the games, not just that for the city as well, sort of thing. So yeah, great. We've been looking around at we've only been looking at printers so far, but we need to start looking at a few local proper fabrication companies as well. So if we can send the details over like that, then we'll get in touch and arrange to go down and see them.
Yeah, Claire will put you together.
And is that one for you as well?
Yes, I think it may well be, actually. I was going to say, yeah, if we could get the details, that would be fantastic, and I can certainly pass on to the relevant team members.
And overlay providers?
I was just going to say, I think, yeah, we'd be interested in having details. Sorry, David.
Well, I was to say, yeah, as we said, Joe and I said earlier, we don't know, but potentially yes. I mean, there are bespoke items and items that are always needed on these sort of large events that no one even knows they need at this point. So there's no harm in having those sort of details. We do have a small workshop of our own, but certainly not something that we can cope with anything of a major challenge.
And John, I shouldn't leave ADI out.
Unfortunately, I don't think we'd be the only ones who probably wouldn't be after them. Right. Thanks anyway.
Look, I thought, David, we'd get a full house on that one. That's a disappointment. However, I suspect the next person who asks a question might be of interest to a couple of people. This is Paul from Mid Repo. We supply and service multifunctional printers, print, copy, scan A3, A4, and flexible enough to offer equipment on short-term rental for the duration of the games. Who should they contact?
Certainly, yes. I mean, and I suspect Arena as well. We've, funnily enough, just gone through that bit of piece of work for the stuff we've got in place now. But certainly, as there are, I think, 12 sites that we're responsible for, that some of those sites may require large printing, sort of AO size printing on site, in addition to just A3 printing. So certainly, david.tunnicliffe@glevents.co.uk. It'd be me that would. It wouldn't be Tom necessarily that look after that. So david.tunnicliffe@glevents.co.uk. Sorry, Joe, I don't know your email address.
No. Anybody else for that one, or is that?
Yeah, it'd be the same with Arena. So that would be the Craig Brinston's contact details that I think hopefully will be sent through, or vice versa. If their contact details can be sent through to us, that would be great.
That's good. We're getting quite a few through, David. So we'll do two at once if that's okay. This is, as it says on the tin, Vaughan Alcock from Event Signs Limited, a signage company based a mile from Alexandra Stadium. So who should they contact? And then also Claire McLeod is an opportunity to get registered to be a supplier, and they do exhibition bus hire and promotional buses as well as event support. So that's signage and promotional buses.
Yeah, from my side, yeah, anyone who's looking at signage and everything like that, who are close to venues, exactly, is a big help to us, like that sort of thing. So yeah, by all means.
And anybody else on the buses at all? The transport? Who's that?
I don't think promotional buses is one for the people on the call. In a sense, promotional buses might be one of those ancillary opportunities, in as much as you think about who wants to promote in parallel with the game. So we have game sponsors, and you can find their details on our website, who may be wishing to do activations and sort of promotional activity around their sponsorship for the games. The buses in and of themselves, there's clearly a transport solution that the OC is providing, but that is largely sort of at scale, and it's sort of contractor and spectator and workforce transport. It's probably not one for promotional.
Yeah, and the advice, as everybody said, is look at the look at the Find It portals as well. Should there be anything out there?
Yeah, I would say that the sponsor activations won't be on there. That's one of those you need to check who the sponsors are and sort of get in touch with our sponsors. If we can help with that, please get in touch.
Okay, Ernest Atcher has posted a question. He's the owner of Atcher Multipurpose Limited, which is a cleaning company based in Wolverhampton with staff, obviously part of our region. Cleaning, is there anything that anybody he should be speaking to on that one, David?
Yeah, so cleaning contractors not on the call today. The tenders are out and done largely on cleaning, but there's a huge subcontract requirement. We are going to be running events into the future to make sure that those cleaning providers have got what they need. So I think if you get in touch, probably best if you get in touch with me in the first instance. I will make sure that you are pointed in the right direction, but that's one of those. It will be a subcontract conversation rather than an OC direct contract.
I think
we're getting them through thick and fast, which is the point of today's session. Question
In
here
Birmingham
from-
Ceremonies, we'll be looking for. Sorry, it's in Birmingham Ceremonies. It's likely to be a requirement that we will have directly. So certainly get in touch.
Great stuff.
Just
That
shout
goes
out
for-
your email again, Ewan. I saw it. It was procurement at, wasn't it?
Yeah, procurement@birminghamceremonies.com.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And Jolie, were you after cleaning services as well?
Yes, yeah, we'll be looking for cleaning services as well. So be good to get in touch. It's cbrinsden@arenagroup.com.
Brilliant. Thank you. Lane Contractors, this is Clive has asked, they are a new build, refurbishment, roofing, fit out and finishing contractor, getting even, it's a competition now, based just 200 metres from Alexandra Stadium. Who should he be in contact with? So that's that sort of roofing, where we are, new build, refurbishment, roofing, fit out and finishing contractor.
Fit out. We've got a control room fit out contract likely to be going out to tender for within the next 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know if that is something which is of interest. I don't really have much information about what the scope looks like at the moment, but we will certainly be looking for a fitting out contractor for that. So once again, the email address, if you want to get in touch, that would be fantastic.
Brilliant. Ewan, would it be the same as well? We've had Simon Dexter in touch, who provides fencing. I don't know whether that would be, but it allows for individual images and designs on the fence line, so it can be used for any image. I take it that might be John as well.
Yeah, the fencing itself, we've actually just let a contract for fencing in the last week. So because the fencing for us is really just at the rehearsal site where we're responsible for that. But as I say, we've just awarded the contract in the last few days. So unfortunately, that would be it's too late. The ship sailed, I'm afraid, on that one.
Don't worry,
Adam, that might be something we've got an interest in on the live sites. So if from the presentation, the inquiries at Opus Arts, if you could get in touch with that, I'll actually send it across to myself, john.mckinnes, MCINNES, @ADI.TV, please.
Okay. And then we'll take two together. Sam White has said, any scope for a local company to provide logistics and haulage? And then Sarah Day has said, who's the person to address for photographers and videographers? David, any? So that's haulage, and then also the sort of still photographers and videographers.
So haulage and logistics, I'll leave that to suppliers in terms of their requirements. The OC's logistics contract is already let to Kuna and Nagel. In terms of photography, that's you know, there's an awful lot, as you would imagine, across the games in terms of imagery. So in terms of the corporate side of life, that will be our sort of PR and marketing department. And again, if you just sort of send me the details on that, I can put you in touch, see if there's any requirement in that space. More broadly, the sort of the imagery contract in terms of TV and stills, etc., is led by the OC. Don't know if any of the suppliers have got any requirements in that space.
Not for photography, or we do that all in house, but certainly for haulage companies, subject to what size vehicles and what your sort of service is. There's always opportunities, really, especially someone who's based locally who can act quickly between sites.
Brilliant, thank you. We've had a couple of people who've come on again about cleaning in temporary structures. I think we've already answered those, so you'll know who to contact for those. Any requirement, David, at all for rapid EV charging and mobile EV charging points? That comes from Mark Sanders Barwick of ZPN.
I think, unfortunately, that ship has sailed, and it's sailed very recently. In terms of EV charging, one of the challenges, I think I would keep my eye on it though, because of course the requirement for EV charging rather depends on the construction of the fleet, and we're still sort of negotiating that with our suppliers in terms of how much of the fleet can be electric as opposed to petrol driven. At the moment, we think we've got the solution in hand, but clearly if the composition of the fleet changes, we may be back in the market for charging solutions.
Brilliant, thank you. Helen Seaborn from Simmons Event. They supply, they bar suppliers for the games. They're based in Herefordshire, have a number of bars, including pop-up specialists, high-volume bars that attend many high-profile events, including 2012 and the Rugby World Cup.
So I don't know if any of the suppliers are planning on providing bars for their staff whilst we're doing it, but I probably not. I would imagine.
Cliff, not even in your sauna? No.
Well, I was going to try and make a quick gag about that, but I'm glad you beat me to it. Just outside of my new decking area that was coming with my two temporary rugby pitches that I'm building. Yeah. No, it's not an RE. If it's classed as catering, I think Arena and myself, we both don't. One thing we don't really do is catering or message like CSN do. We work with people like that, but very rarely responsible for booking them. I would say it's fair for Arena as well. I don't want to speak in turn, but
yeah. So I think the position on catering is the primary contractors are appointed across the lots in the OC, but clearly there is subcontract potential with the catering providers. Okay,
and because it's clicking on now to 10 o'clock, just two more. And thank you everybody for questions. Good, healthy cross section of sectors as well. Security, Copex Security event specialist, actually we know, based in Coventry. Who do they get in touch with regard asset protection, SIA, and stewarding events?
Well, we have actually just appointed. This week we are just appointing a security company based in Birmingham. It's a reasonably sized contract. It's sort of over 500,000. I'd welcome a quick conversation, but it would be quite a quick conversation because we're quite well down the route with that now. I know the OC, I think, David, don't mind me saying that you've got that in place as well for some of your asset protection regarding overnights and things.
Yeah, we have an open tender for those that are in that space. It's stewarding rather than security, but there are a number of lots that are going to go live this week.
Well, they do stewarding, David. They do stewarding as well.
Yeah, so OC website, you see the opportunities, and there is a tender about to go onto that website for OC stewarding at certain venues.
We will also be looking for security for our construction and D-rig as well. Yeah. So that would be really interesting for Arena Group.
Brilliant. So that's Copex Security, Jodie, for when they reach out. And then just the last two, and then we are going to have to call it a day, I'm afraid. Westbury's H&S, who do we contact regards health and safety services such as training and risk assessment? And then the last one is from Asanchi Solutions, who provide operations support for data analytics and performance management. Again, that's health and safety. So basically those two together, health and safety. Whose responsibility is that, David?
It falls to lots of people across the whole thing, but ultimately within the principal contractor role and principal design role that both Arena and I are doing, we've already, well, I'm sure Arena have as well, we're quite well down the line of having, I think I've got a team of about 7 people currently working as principal contractor advisors for us, which are based at the Birmingham office. Arena, I know you do yours in-house, I think, I can't remember. The training of them is something that's they're already, as far as training is concerned, they're already part of our full team. So we hope they're trained to the level they need to be trained to do the job. So yeah, I think at this point we're okay with that. I don't want to speak on anyone else, but GL, from our perspective, we're on it with that.
Brilliant. That's David. That's all the questions. So from my point of view, thank you to everybody from the Growth Hubs point of view. Please do access the WM Growth Hubs, and you'll find portals for further information and advice of the support that Growth Hubs can give everybody who's on this call, regardless of whether it's 2022 or going ahead. David, back to you.
Thanks very much, Adam. I'll just close out now. Obviously, thanks to the Growth Hub for hosting the event today. Thank you all for attending. Big thanks to my colleagues at our suppliers. We've done a few of these now, and it's great and heartening to hear that they're leading to real business. From my perspective, this is one of the most exciting parts of the games. Is, we always said that the games would bring local economic benefit, and the reality is there are people here with business to award, and there are great companies across this region that can supply the games. I try and keep all of this in context, which is where I started this conversation, which is this is a major event, for this city and region. It is the one chance in a lifetime where the eyes of the world will be on us, and all of the great businesses in this region have an opportunity to play a part in that. It's through our supply chain now, and we think we've appointed sort of globally recognised experts in their field, but they can't do it without the local supply chain, and that's the people on this call. So please enjoy the business opportunities, be lucky and be successful in those opportunities. And if you're not, that doesn't mean the games isn't a good thing. You know, there is great opportunity to be part of the games at a personal and social level. So tickets are on sale now. Please buy them. And we look forward to seeing you all this summer across the region for a brilliant games. Thanks very much for your time, everyone.